Hello, fellow head scratchers. My name is Adam Scoggins. And what we have here is natural slate stone tile. Now, don't get this mixed up with milled slate stone. If you look at it from this angle, you'll see the shimmering of the light against the water that's on it. You'll see the character of the stone. This character creates a very rough surface. That rough surface is the reason why I'm making this video. I did not lay this stone in its original place. I had to regrout this stone because the person who laid this stone originally didn't use grout. They used mortar. And rightfully so, I believe, in their defense, because the grout lines were so wide, about an inch wide here, that regular grout just wouldn't have worked. Because back in the day that this was laid, some 28 years ago, grout wasn't good enough to withstand this wide of a gap without shrinking and splitting and cracking. Well, what I used on this is Fusion Pro brand epoxy based grout. And the problem with it is I have never laid this kind of stone before. This is my first time doing it, and I did not realize that this stone was supposed to be sealed first. So I laid the stone, I pulled the stone up, I put thin set under it and put it back in its spot where it originally was, because the character of the stone creates a locking I guess, action against the original thin set that it was set into. So I couldn't move the stone left or right. I can't source this kind of stone, so I would have had to, on a long porch like this, I would have had to have replaced or made up for the difference if I had changed the grout line. So I put it right back where it was. And the roughness of the stone makes it very, very porous. It makes it absorbing, has an absorbing action. And I didn't realize that this product was what I was supposed to use on it to begin with, sealer and finish. And then I could use the grout on it like it's a normal stone. It would not absorb. But because I didn't do that, I get this effect right here. As you can see, there's some grout haze left over. I'll show you the difference. I cleaned it with a specific product, the reason for this video. And this is the end result, where there is no grout haze. It's nice and clean lines right to the edge of the actual stone. And it looks professional there. But this just looks terrible. Now, I consider myself to be a professional at everything I do because I go at it with that attitude, but this looks terrible. I went through about $150 worth of products before I found the right thing to use. I used this, which is basically muriatic acid. I used the recommended sulfamic acid that Fusion Pro puts out. I used this product from Home Depot, thinking it would work. I also used Tile Lab Heavy Duty Concentrated Stripper. It didn't work. Then I got to thinking, I'll get on YouTube. I'll find out what other people have done to solve that problem, and no one has been able to solve the problem so far as I can tell. Went to Home Depot, and the flooring expert there couldn't solve the problem. He went on forums online. He couldn't find anyone with an answer. I finally found the answer. I looked into the ingredients of that product, and it is indeed an epoxy-based grout. And what we're seeing here is pretty much just the epoxy mixed in with the tint, the grout tint, which this happens to be pewter. So, I found this stuff. Premium Paint and Epoxy Remover by Jasco. This stuff is awesome. I want you to see how fast this stuff actually works. This is actually still wet, and it doesn't matter. I've found actually the water helps, and I will pour some on here. Just a little bit like that right there. Okay. Now you can use a wire brush, and I'm going to tell you this: it is not the wire brush doing the job here. It is in fact the epoxy remover, because I had tried a wire brush to begin with. Here's a spot right here, and as you can see, wire brush just ain't getting it up. Now this spot that has the epoxy remover, I'm going to spread it out all over the hazy spot. It doesn't matter if it gets it on the grout. Now just look how quickly the stuff comes up. Now this stuff has methylene chloride in it. Methylene chloride will cut epoxy. And you'll know it's methylene chloride because it'll smell like a sweet, syrupy, kind of a propane scent. That sounds like a sommelier or something like that, you know, with notes of propane and syrup. Some kind of a weird propane syrupy smell. Alright, now there's some bit of work involved here because this chemical is designed to work slowly. It's a gel, and it works slowly so that you'll have time to do what you need. Now, one side I did it, the other side I've left without it being done. And I'm going to turn on some water. Now, the water is very integral in this, because what we've done is we've broken down the chemical profile of this epoxy, and we pretty much made it wet again. We want water because water is actually going to suspend the particles, because it doesn't absorb in water. It's going to suspend the particles of the epoxy in the water. Now look at this, watch it. See there? It's already washing it away. Now just agitate it a little bit. Look at that, clean, professional looking. And I'm just barely scrubbing this part right here. But I don't know if it'll come out in the video, but you can see, I see little specks floating around of the epoxy. Now, this effect, the haziness, will really only show up when you have a lighter grout than the stone, when there's water on it. When it dries, the stone kind of becomes lighter and it blends with the grout, and it doesn't seem so obvious until you put water on it. But if you can see this, you'll see a little bit of the area here that I didn't get, this side that I didn't do at all, and then all this area that was done is clean, beautiful. Look at the mess. Look at that. There's a little spot where that thing drips, and it actually ruined that spot. I'll have to regrout that. But clean, new, professional looking on one side, amateur looking on the other. You see that hard line right there? So, for those of you who are amateurs at certain things and you didn't know, before you do anything, be sure to seal this tile first. And if you don't, and you catch yourself in my predicament, remember, Jasco brand, well, let me get it in the light where you can see it, premium, there it is, epoxy and paint remover right here. Where is it at? Yeah, there we go. It works in 15 minutes. It works a lot faster than that with this particular situation. Now, just so you'll see it done again, let me turn the light off. Now, you'll know that this is wet right there. It doesn't matter. This stuff, as soon as I pour it on there, it's going to push the water away from it because it is heavier and does not dissolve. Look at there. I don't know if it makes, you know what, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this nylon brush to do this side. Okay. Spread it out a little bit, get it on top. Make sure that it stays on there. Alright, now nylon brush, you know a nylon brush is not going to clean this stuff as well as a wire brush, but just go little short motions, because you know, if you push down really hard on a nylon brush or any kind of brush like a toothbrush, I mean on your own teeth, go light, because you want the edges of those bristles to do the job. Not if you lay it down, the sides of the bristles are going to be touching and they won't do any scouring. So there's you a dental lesson as well. You just want to agitate the surface. That's all. This stuff is, you see how it's bunching up? That's the water separating the particles. They're suspended in the water. They're encapsulated in this methylene chloride and epoxy mixture. Okay, there we go. And this is taking a little longer because I'm holding a camera. I can't really put a lot of work into the actual job, but it's still doing it. Alright, turn the water back on. Let the water run across it. Now look, you remember just a few seconds ago, the left side of this looked really rough, very messy, and the water, now everything can be shown with it being wet. And I'll do this in again, but as you can see, looks nothing like that. It's not messy like that. All that up there, you see all that? That right there is clean. So, enjoy your problem-solving ventures.